Today's episode of The Walk Show is brought to you in part by Rock Sparrow. Rock Sparrow brings artists and brands to life through quality merchandise. They help entrepreneurs, artists, and brands with online merch solutions, taking the guesswork out of merchandising your brand by managing your every need, and all with real people. Speaking of real people, I've known the creators of Rock Sparrow for years, and I can tell you firsthand, these people genuinely care about what they do for their clients and their community. There's even a store there set up for The Walk Show. Check out what they're up to at rocksparrow.ca. If you want to join up like I did, send them an email at info@rocksparrow.ca. And if you want to check out my Rock Sparrow merch, it's at The Walk Show. That's WOK.rocksparrow.ca. Again, that's thewalkshow.rocksparrow.ca. In any case, if you want to help out The Walk Show, please let them know that I sent you. Happy Mother's Day. Welcome to The Walk Show. Podcasting on all major platforms and broadcasting on Hypernova Radio. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Blue Sky. And if you want to support the show with your dollars, you can subscribe over on Patreon for $5 a month. I'm Derek Prince-Cox, and I hope you're all keeping well. It's been one of the busiest weeks I can remember. 2 rehearsals, recorded 2 conversations for the podcast, worked all over Southern Ontario, and capped it off by providing lights, PA, and drums, as well as sound tech services for the Elora Punk Rock Farmers Market. It ended up being about a 22-hour day, including setup, teardown, and loadout, but it was totally worth it. 12 bands at Skull House, all run by an inverter generator. This thing was awesome. I can't believe it held up. Big thanks to Jonathan Sohn of Cartridge Heart for giving me the opportunity. And some killer sets that day. I was absolutely blown away by the Mendozas, Debt Cemetery, and Frank Dukes. Also met some great people too. And I live for this stuff. So it was a great day and a great way to keep the lights on. Not to mention a great way to cap off an incredibly crazy week. I will be doing sound at the Long Weekend Band Crawl next weekend in Waterloo. That's put on by Pink Lemonade Records. Check out Long Weekend Band Crawl on Facebook and Instagram for details. And if you're in the area, get your tickets and come hang out. In the spirit of Mother's Day, I reached out to you on the Walk Show socials to ask you what the best thing about your mom is. And nobody chimed in. Come on, man. That question was better than you acted. Either way, if you aren't writing in and you want to get in on the action, when you see a listener question pop up on the Walk Show socials, leave your answer in the comments or email them to thewalkshow@gmail.com. On that note, let's do today's Double Feature Preacher.
The Double Feature Preacher is brought to you by Planet Bean Coffee.
Woo, that is a tasty f***ing brew.
And by The Walk Show.
Yay! Today's music feature is I Am by Australia's own Killing Flaw. This band absolutely rips. My only gripe is I can't seem to find a full album or an EP to buy. They do have singles available on iTunes though, and I fully recognize that this is me being an old man about it. Anyway, Killing Flaw is an incredibly talented heavy blues rock band. Think a modern version of Tres Hombres era ZZ Top. The world definitely needs more of this. What a pleasant surprise. Big thanks to Alternative Twist Radio for sending me this track. You can support Killing Flaw by checking out any of their videos on YouTube, buying a single on iTunes, or streaming on Spotify, and be sure to give them a follow on the socials. Today's Planet Bean feature is their Vincenzo's Own blend. This is a blend exclusively available at Vincenzo's in Waterloo. This is a really interesting blend with a caramel aroma and flavors of chocolate, nuts, and dried fruit. I think this is one of my favorite Planet Bean products so far. This blend balances that fine line of being complex without being too much. Planet Bean Coffee is Guelph's coffee company, having roasted fair trade and organic coffee since 1997. Check out what they're up to, get a list of locations and a list of vendors at planetbeancoffee.com. Most importantly, support Planet Bean with your dollars. You'll be glad you did. Oh, and when you do, if you want to help out the Walk Show, please let them know that I sent you.
Stick around to the end of the podcast to hear the full song from today's double feature preacher artist.
Yeah, that band rules. For this episode, I had a conversation with drummer of Chasing Victory and an old tour buddy, Mr. Jeremy Lowery. It was so good to catch up with Jeremy. He's such an awesome dude in such a killer band. We had a great chat, and I hope you dig it. So let's get into it. And we are rolling here today with Jeremy Lowery of Chasing Victory. Thanks for making time for the show, dude.
Very much looked forward to this, Derek. I'm glad to catch up with you.
Dude, it's awesome. It's actually kind of crazy that we're talking after all this time, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. And I was thinking about that the other day about, when sometimes when it might be the last time you see somebody. I remember like the last show we played and like parting ways and being like, it'd be cool if we cross paths with these guys again one day, but don't know if that'll ever happen. But it's weird though, man. That was before my Facebook and all that, and so I'm glad that got reconnected. So it's after all the years. So but yeah, man, I'm doing really good. I've made a few adjustments over the years, but I'm in St. Augustine designing gardens, building gardens, and just having a fun time with it. So a lot of things between now and back then have happened, but everything kind of aligns the way it's supposed to when it's supposed to.
I love it, man. And, I love that you brought up Facebook as well, because it's almost like, I don't know, there's pre-Facebook and there's post-Facebook, man. I mean, I feel like a lot of bands don't even remember that MySpace was a thing, and yet you and I, our music careers were, I don't want to say based on MySpace, but it was a big deal back then.
Dude, it was mind-blowing because, we had done a few tours, pre-MySpace, and all of a sudden, it becomes a thing. And the first tour we did after, having ever even heard of MySpace was we were supposed to be supporting this band called The Devil Wears Prada, and they had high school the first 3 days of the tour. They had to go back and go to high school, but dude, we were like, what in the heck? Like they play a few local shows up to that point, I think, and then they just blew up on MySpace, and suddenly we were on it. We did a full US with them, and they there was like 300 or 400 people there a night, and it was their first tour. It was crazy.
That is crazy. And I mean, obviously they blew up, but were they from the same area as you guys?
No, I want to say they're from like Ohio or somewhere in that area, like Pennsylvania, or I feel like I know we toured up to their stomping grounds and then joined up with them somewhere around there, but I want to say in Ohio, maybe like Indiana even. I don't know. Somewhere up there, somewhere cold.
Well, it's funny you say that's cold. I mean, we're all the way up here in Ontario, Canada, which I know you know well because you stayed with me when we toured together.
I know. Do you? All right. So, it was March when we left. I've told this story. I was we're South Georgia, and we think March it's got about to get warm, so we're about to get. So we're packing our bags up to go on this long tour, and we figured we don't really need jackets anymore, so because it's about to be spring. So man, we all the way up 75. I think we got to like Ohio, Kettering, Ohio is when it was. It was like 20 degrees outside, and we all had short sleeves on, and we went to Goodwill and got like the thickest jackets we could find, and that's when we came and met you guys a few days later. We had trouble getting into Canada though.
Did you?
I can't remember why. Yeah, I think one of our passports didn't come in time, but they still let us through with just a birth certificate or something. So,
well, yeah, that was back in the day where you could probably still get away with things like that. And it's funny because in Canada we hear all these horror stories about the U.S. border, and we had some issues in Arise as well. But I mean, it really just comes down to like the country you're trying to go into and guards that are pretty much just doing their jobs. No.
Yeah, no, we went straight through. We were kind of worried just because we didn't have our passport, or they didn't come in on time, is what it was. So either way, we made it, and it was fine. That was the August Burns Red tour.
Yes,
and it was. And who else was that? From a Second Story Window. Was that one? Was that? Am I thinking the wrong one?
I think that might have been a different one. Because I thought it was just the three of us, but you know what? My memory is so bad when it comes to that stuff.
I know. Yeah, it wasn't them. That's right. That was another whole thing. I can't remember because you guys did the Canada leg, and then I don't remember who else was on that after we joined after the Canada shows. But anyways, man. So like you said, it was so long ago. But
well, you know what's funny, man, is speaking of border issues and all that kind of stuff, we were supposed to do. Was that the Messengers? Was that a tour for Messengers when that came out?
Yeah, they had just put out Messengers. That's right.
Okay, okay. Because I think we were supposed to do some American tour for Messengers with August Burns Red, and we got turned away at the border. Which we always kind of thought, like, could have put us on a completely different trajectory. Because when you're from Canada, like, you just want to get to the States. That's pretty much the whole point of being a Canadian musician, as brutal as it sounds. But like when you're down there, you can pretty much go in any direction. Like you mentioned touring up north to meet up with Devil Meets Parada, or Devil Wears Parada, my bad. But I mean, the thing with the States is, you can pretty much just get in the van, go in any direction, and hit a sweet market.
Yeah. And didn't you guys, we played Albany, New York together, right? Because then we went out to the Niagara Falls afterwards.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was fun. That's crazy, man. Niagara Falls is just absolute. I mean, it's incredible to see it in person.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Yeah, it's wild. And I wanted to say that was some kind of festival, and one of the headliners bailed before they got paid and took off or something like that. But again, I could be getting my stories mixed up. It happens a lot, dude.
I think it was, it was you guys, August Burns Red, that whole tour. Didn't we like take a take a leak in the Niagara Falls at the same time, like simultaneously?
Oh, dude. Wow. If I did, I'm sorry. But
is that
it's entirely
shouldn't
possible.
Say that.
No, maybe. I don't know. You know what? It's funny when you tour kind of nonstop like we both did. Like I find you, or at least I should only speak for myself, I guess. But you kind of just become a little less attached with like general society and polite society, and you kind of, dude. I remember I got to a point where like if I had to go, it didn't matter where I was. Like I pulled over in the middle of the highway and just let her fly, just stuff I would never do now. And it took me a while to kind of readjust when we stopped touring, man. I definitely remember that.
We were just a bunch of kids, man.
Yeah, there's something about
I remember
it.
one of our tours, dude, like we were just, I think it was our very first tour. And there was this dude named Justin on it with us, and we pull up next to this limousine, and he just rolls down the window and throws a bologna sandwich, like open, with the mayonnaise and the bologna and everything. It just stuck to the window of the limousine. And we turned left, and they kept going straight. And we were dying laughing. We're like, "Why'd you do that?" And he's like, why does that guy get a limousine? That was that was his entire reason for just throwing a sandwich on the dude's car, man. It's just like we were just a bunch of irresponsible kids, seems like.
Dude, it's so funny, man. I mean, when we were in the States, we were always on our best behavior because, like, you never know who's packing, right?
Y'all go to some dangerous spots.
Yeah, dude. Well, and the GPS doesn't know the difference, right? You sort of like, I feel like so many towns in America, it's like really nice neighborhood and then like a 7-Eleven and then just like rough neighborhood. And there's really no, like, it just sort of goes from one to the other. And yeah, sometimes the GPS doesn't know the difference. So yeah, we definitely pulled a bunch of U's, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, we actually wrote a song one time about a dude holding us up in the alley behind a club in Miami.
Oh, no way.
It's called, it's on Fiends. It's called Kings. It's it's about that, man. That was a pretty scary experience, man. We didn't have that whole lot of money in our money box, so we gave him a few dollars and he left us alone. You never had that much money on the road like that, though, man. Especially when you're playing like 5 or 6 shows with not that many people.
Oh,
rough
dude.
Out there.
Hell yeah, man. Especially in that scene, man. I mean, I remember sort of when I started looking for, another course in life, I guess we'll say, this is probably something I shouldn't talk about. So I'll say it in a way that I can probably get away with, but one of the bands was buying some weed, and this band was very, very big in the metal scene. I'll leave their name out of it, but they were literally searching their van cushions for weed money, and I remember thinking, like, dude, if these guys are broke, then there's no hope for me, man. Like, it's wild.
Might have been some really good weed, though.
What's that?
Might have just been some really good weed, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
Dude, it's a thankless job, especially like in the heavier styles of music, man. I feel like you can still do it in certain genres, and you can still do it in metal, I guess, but it just doesn't look like I thought it would look when I was younger, that's all.
Yeah, I am happy to see kind of a renaissance, though, in I think Furnace Fest has had a lot to do with this new and when we were young these festivals that are sort of banking on the mid 2000s nostalgia. I mean, and it's really bringing a lot of new bands and new energy to that old sound, that we were in. But with heavy music in general, I feel like it's it was such an interesting thing to see knocked loose on Jimmy Kimmel, was it?
Yeah, dude.
Or one of those. It's just interesting to see it in a pop light, like that. So who knows where? I think I'm an optimist, man. I like to think that too late and that it's just now starting to become widely accepted. And I don't know, maybe that's sort of like not what true, metal heads or a lot of times when things begin to get popular, people get angry about it. But I think music, man, has a way to unite people. So I like the heavy music is becoming more relevant. Even my daughter listens to like some of the bands I used to listen to. Man, it's nuts.
That's awesome. Does she like Chasing Victory?
She won't admit it if she does. Nice. I don't know. I think she does, but you can't be your dad's fan. That's just weird.
Yeah.
She likes Deftones. She likes she's really into Alice in Chains, man. That's really cool. So but she's all over the place. She likes Fleetwood Mac. She's really starting to discover her music preferences, outside of radio. So proud of that.
Oh yeah. No, that's awesome. And it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, I feel like that style, like the style of music that you guys did, was that great juxtaposition of like really heavy, but also, also the melody, right? So it's, you mentioned kind of like heavy metal purists and, a couple minutes ago, and maybe those people get kind of pissed off when you mix genres, but I thought it was such a cool sound because it could reach people that were, maybe into like an actual hook, and it could also reach people that just wanted to throw down,
Yeah, man, it's super fun and energetic too, because being able to play and perform music that the crowd can really connect with, and I feel like heavy music is the best thing for that. Just dog piles and moshing, and it's just, I don't know, man, something about it. It's fun.
Dude, speaking of moshing and energy, man, how was Furnace Fest?
Man, it was equal parts like nerve-wracking, but also just life-changing in a way, man. Just never, it was, we had no idea that people like really were gonna still know who we were, because we broke up like pretty soon after we put out Fiends, and we really never really got popular back then. So just to have a interaction with that many people and just, it was unreal, man. And I was so nervous because the sampler that I had been working on for the past several months, like, man, for like the first 5 minutes of everybody sound checking, I couldn't get it to come through because I didn't even realize that I didn't have it plugged in, man.
Oh,
I did not have the thing plugged into the front of the house, and I was like, I just wasted a lot of time, and then for some reason, like, something wasn't sending the right signal, and I just pulled the plug on it. But I was able to run a click track, so at least we were able to be somewhat tight. But man, it was biggest crowd we've ever played in front of, and it's been years since we played, so it was kind of nerve wracking.
Dude, those pictures look definitely looked intimidating, man.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun though. Somebody took some really great live videos of that show and put it on YouTube, and yeah, man, it was. We got invited to play this year, but unfortunately, it's Furnace Fest is right around the time that they harvest peanuts in Georgia and pecans up in Georgia, and that's when one of our guys is like super busy. It's like impossible to take off work, and so Furnace Fest has always been sort of a challenge. But we have been also dedicated this year to writing and hopefully releasing music, so that we can sort of start put together some stuff for 2026 or later this year or something. Because yeah, man, we've gotten the bug again, man. We want to play some shows.
Dude, that's exciting, man. Have you?
How about you, man? What all kind of projects are you in these days?
Dude, I am doing the drummer for hire thing more than anything right now, which really just means a hell of a lot of covers. But I do play with an original artist called Apricity, and we just played the Whiskey A Go Go last weekend in LA.
Oh, cool.
And dude, it was awesome, man. I love that venue. So yeah, pretty much just focusing on Apricity. I have a solo project, but it I think I put out exactly one song in, I don't know, maybe 5 years, so it moves slow. But I spend so much time doing this. Like, this is a weekly show now, and it takes so much more time than you might think, like just for two dudes talking,
I can't imagine. I've thought about it before, but I know I would probably, like, knowing me, something like that, man, I would have a hard time doing more than like 2 or 3 episodes before I would just say like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. So respect, man. Like how long have you been doing your show?
So over 7 years. It was 7 years in December.
Oh, wow, man. Congratulations on that.
Hey, thanks, dude. It's a lot of fun, and obviously catching up with dudes like you, and getting to meet a lot of new people too. It's kept me involved in the music scene in a way that I can actually commit to, because I can't just jump on the road like I used to. But it's a nice way to still be able to contribute, a little bit.
I love it, man. I'm glad you're doing it. I have this. I have a few things that I would love to see materialize soon. And in the vein of being able to contribute to music in a way without doing it directly, over the years I've really come to develop this passion for trying to figure out how to help others enter creative flow. Like that's one of the things I do with my garden designs is I want to help people go somewhere to just empty their mind or even feel something enough to where they feel it through to be able to focus their energy creatively. So I want to take that and really focus it on the musical side of things and create a place where people can come to emotionally heal and create from that, like their form of creative expression from a deep inner knowing kind of place, if you will. So I've been working with a couple of people around in St. Augustine, in the ecotourism space, like bringing in nature hikes and connecting with nature. And anyways, it's still in the conceptual phases, but I hear you, man. I like to put out things positively for people to grab onto and hopefully create something to impact others. So it's kind of like a podcast.
Well, yeah, man, just some kind of escape. Because I mean, dude, and I know it's kind of cliche, but like life is hard, man. Like we need somewhere to go. It's I don't know about you, but I mean, so back in the day, like when we were touring, I was drinking like way too much. And so I've been sober for a few years now. And like, that makes it even tougher, man. Like, cause normally the tough times you would just escape to a bottle or, a few too many cans or something. But, to find other ways to kind of escape, I think is super important, man. Like, not to say everybody has to be sober by any means, but just to have some options out there, I think is crucial.
Oh, dude, congratulations on sobriety, man. I'm actually, let's see, April 28th was 4 months for me. I decided December last year that I'm going to go for a whole year, because man, like it becomes a crutch, and all of a sudden it's a daily thing, and you're feeling like shit. But thinking of like quitting forever, man, it's like, wow, why is that so daunting to think about? So when I said I'm going to go a whole year, it made me feel, it gave me this feeling of like control, but also this is going to be a challenge. And so now 4 months in, I'm like, man, I don't even have, I barely have like urge much anymore to like go and, sit at a bar or have a drink or whatever. But I mean, I feel tremendously better. So I definitely advocate for anyone that's considering it, man, just to really, you will discover how good life can feel when you take back control of that. So kudos to you.
Oh, dude, I mean, likewise, man. Congratulations. In 4 months, like you're in that spot where you're out of the woods, but like, I know I had a harder time towards the front end of it. So like probably me in the 4 month mark, it was a little easier, I think, because it was during the pandemic. So I could just throw myself to bed if I was having a really bad day. You can't really do that now that society is back on, but yeah, my hat's off to you too, my friend. That's it's not an easy thing to do, but I know for me it definitely gets a lot easier as you just make new memories and develop new habits. It's it gives you more of a I don't want to say positive pattern, because I'm not one of those like drinking is evil, like or the alcohol industry victimized me. Like, no, I put the bottle to my lips and I made those decisions. So but I love that you brought up control, because I think that's, I don't know, for me that was such a huge factor. It's just knowing that I'm taking control of something that I didn't feel that I had any control over,
Yeah. That's the main thing, is when you just have to admit, like, this is becoming a little more, it's driving me more than I'm driving it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, it's difficult to admit that. And it's really easy to make all kinds of justifications in your mind. So, I mean, but when you really, it does take it's an individual journey. It takes a moment. It takes a crossroad, or, fork in the road rather. So that's what it was for me. And it wasn't any kind of serious wake up call. It was just like, holy crap. I was like, it's like the only thing in that moment that was going to make me feel happy, or like, make a particular sadness go away at that point, was a bottle of red wine.
Yeah.
So when that happened, I was like, I'm going to go a year, just a year. And I was like, I can do that no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's the most fun weekend coming up with my friends, or it doesn't matter if it's the worst day in the world. I can go a year. I will go a year, and but that, I knew in the back of my mind, if I go a year, I'm probably going to just be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I'm already, so it's like I had to trick myself into being like, no, it's okay. It's not like forever, but it might actually be forever. I'm okay with that too, because like I said, man, just feeling a whole hell of a lot better.
Well, that's it, man. You hit those milestones, and I was just thinking, it's kind of like that scene in Forrest Gump where he's like, "Well, I just might as well keep on running," like it's kind of what it feels like, man.
No, that's a great analogy. It's a great analogy,
dude. Everything comes down to Forrest Gump for me, man. I don't know what to
really.
Tell you. Yeah, dude, that movie hit me hard, man.
Life themes of Forrest Gump, man. There are a bunch.
Yeah.
Him and Bubba, dude, they were just boys. Him and Bubba, like, out of the gate.
Dude, hell yeah, man. I just saw that Bubba Gump Shrimp, one of those restaurants at the Santa Monica Pier. We went to go check it out when we were in LA, and that was pretty funny. And on that same trip, we were in the just going through the TSA. You got to take your shoes off. And I noticed my bass player's shoes look super comfortable. So I just said, dude, I don't mean to sound like Forrest Gump, but like, those must be comfortable shoes, man. He just started laughing at me. But like, I wouldn't have noticed them unless we were going through the TSA. Good old Forrest Gump, dude.
Like one show, were you all on tour? What you said you played Whiskey?
Yeah, we just did a one-off, man. So we'll just do like fly-ins, and then we'll just come back home. So it's maybe some touring in the future, but like, we're all pretty tied to, I'm not so much tied to a job, but I am tied to, keeping the lights on. So I do have to kind of come back home and, make money somehow. But, it's part of sort of the drummer for hire thing, man. We're like, I'll pretty much go anywhere. And I think you kind of have to these days if you want to compete, because it just seems like, young drummers are so good. Like, these kids just popping off online, like, doing stuff that I still can't do, and I got 20 years on them. But also it just seems like they all have recording rigs, like they all they're all videographers. Like, there's just so much to try to compete. So I guess part of it for me is like, you know, if I got to get in a plane and go somewhere, then I just will.
Man, dude, and like, there's worse things, you know, like just gonna go hop in on a plane and go play a show real quick. That sounds like a pretty sweet. How did you so you said you're a drummer for hire? How did you find that band? Are they a Toronto band?
Well, close to Toronto, yeah. But I actually had the vocalist on the podcast, so it was one of those things where, yeah, just like I mentioned before, I just get to meet so many people doing this thing, right? So, I heard her music, and I was just, I guess we were like emailing or something, and I was just like, oh, like the music is so good. Like if you ever need a drummer, almost kind of tongue in cheek, just like, you know, let me know. I'd love to keep time for you. And then some time went by, and she was like, yeah, actually I do. Oh, damn. Okay. Awesome. I guess we'll make that happen. And yeah, it's been like a few years now, and it's been a really, really good time, man. Cause I kind of thought I was not done, but just kind of limited to, you know, doing cover gigs in bars, you know?
Yeah, man. So do you get to write with this? Do you write with this crew too, or do you
yeah,
perform?
like she gives me a lot of freedom. So she has a studio team, but she also likes things really kind of rocked up live. And because I have more of like a metal background, she'll let me get away with murder, right? A lot of stuff that you probably shouldn't be doing on a drum kit to music that's a little more hook oriented. But as long as you don't get too greedy, then you know it's good.
Oh, you said it's folk?
Oh, it's like I mean it's guitar driven. Like I would say it's rock rooted, but it's definitely lighter than say the stuff that we're doing back in the day.
Yeah, I do.
So
sorry, my daughter's asking me for my charger.
Oh, all good, dude. Actually, what I should do now anyway is I should take the quick commercial break, show some love to the sponsors, but we will be right back right after this. Today's episode of The Walk Show is brought to you in part by Jam Spots. Established in 1989, that's over 30 years, Jam Spots has provided safe and accessible spaces for musicians to create and collaborate. They have hourly, weekly, and monthly rentals to suit your needs. And here's the thing, these rooms rent out at artist-friendly rates. Cause let's face it, we can't all be John Bon Jovi. The best part about Jam Spots is its rich history in the Guelph music scene. It truly is a big part of the local scene and even has a music community within itself. And I should know, almost every band I've ever been a part of has had a room with Jam Spots. That's a ton of rehearsals, photo shoots, and even a music video we shot there with Arise and Ruin. If you're looking for a space within our music community, check out jamspots.com. That's JAMSPOTS.com. Jam Spots. Make some noise! Hey, business owners, wouldn't it be cool if I was taking this time to talk about your product or service? I've enjoyed building relationships with some very cool companies since I started this thing, and I am looking to expand the Walk Show family. I work with some great sponsors, and I've sponsored events through the podcast, so I do understand how valuable time and resources can be. If you have any interest or questions about working with the show, hit me up at thewalkshow@gmail.com. Again, that's thewalkshow, W-O-K, @gmail.com. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get back to the show. And we're back. And before we go any further, I just want to send a shout out to whoever created that punk rock drummers group on Facebook, because that's where you and I kind of bonded again after all these years. And That threw me for a loop, man. I gotta be honest. I sent an intro thinking I was gonna get torn apart for not being like punk rock enough, and then you came out of nowhere. I'm like, holy crap! I haven't talked to you in years.
I know, that was wild, man. Like, so many drummers were just like introducing themselves, like, it's like, yeah, it was. It's pretty cool. It's a really cool group.
It really is, man. Like, it's and not to, be that guy to like yell at the internet, but like it can be a pretty negative place. And I will say that group is not negative in the least, man. It seems like everybody's welcome with open arms. It's pretty crazy to see in this day and age.
Yeah, I kind of just like gravitate towards more of that stuff. If it gets too negative, man, I just like go away from it. And I think I'm like kind of I'm trying to train my algorithm to just be more optimistic and less like, I don't know, man. Just even seeing people argue on the internet, man, it just like makes me feel weird, just like get along.
Exactly, man. And it's funny because you raise a good point. Like, you can just gravitate towards the positivity. And I mean, I could too. And I guess I choose not to, because if I were to open Facebook right now, my algorithm would be like, just left versus right and like just all kinds of crazy shit where it's just like, yeah, you don't have to do that. You can look at cute puppy videos and, join drummer groups and, do all that good stuff. It's like we're attracted, or at least I'm attracted to stuff that I can't stand. I don't really understand the psychology behind it.
Yeah, the technology is like way beyond my grasp, but I mean, it's pretty unreal how we pretty much live in an echo chamber of whatever it is that we think and believe. You're pretty much going to encounter that same mirror. You're going to just, and it's going to amplify it. So and a lot of, man, so sometimes I look at some of these conversations and these, I guess, comments, and a lot of times I'm like, these are bots talking to each other. A lot of times, it's, who's real?
It's crazy, man. It's it's such such an interesting time where like there are definitely bots. You can tell for some of them, but some of them I think are people that just like walk right into it too, right? Where somebody stirs it up and they just can't help but get on that keyboard and just spew,
Yeah, it's silly.
Dude, it's so funny, man. I do want to get the listener question out of the way, because every episode I ask the listeners a question. I like to get my guests' take as well. This is coming out, I think, on Mother's Day on Patreon. So in the spirit of Mother's Day, what's the best thing about your mom?
My mom is very thoughtful. She puts a lot of effort into making sure that the people around her feel accepted and that they feel, at home. Or, I mean, my mom was always the mom, was a lot of my friends came over and she was like a second mom. Like she's always been very nurturing and kind and funny. And one of my favorite hobbies is cooking, and she and I always send, pictures back and forth of the things we cook. So my mom's like one of my best friends, man. I'm very, very grateful for old Nina up there in Meigs, Georgia, living on the farm.
Yeah, that rules. And I mean, shout out to band moms. Like, band moms are just the best, eh? Like, it's
you can't, it's impossible to even do music, like, especially young kids, without supportive parents. And we were definitely grateful. We were definitely blessed to have supportive parents. came to our shows, bought our equipment, our first equipment, helped us get vans and trailers, and man, you can't imagine, like doing all that for your kid, and then they like drive away off into the sunset, and it's like, be safe.
Totally,
it takes
right?
a lot of, yeah.
I think about this a lot, where it's like, band parents, they're probably stoked that their kids didn't get into hockey or something crazy expensive, and then they get hit with band stuff. It's just like, oh, we avoided hockey, phew, and then just like, Mom, I want a drum kit. Oh God,
$400 hi-hat.
Totally, man, it's wild, and especially lately. I don't know about you, but like, I feel like since the pandemic, everything's just shot way up in price. Like, I almost never break cymbals, so. Back in the day, I had an Alchemy in Istanbul endorsement, and I still had a bunch of those cymbals. And yeah, I had to buy a few things. And yeah, I think I got a used Sabian ride cymbal for like $600. Used.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's wild. Now, I should say I am endorsed by Heartbeat Percussion now, but then, so shout out to Heartbeat. But they really saved my butt because, damn, like a $600 used ride cymbal, like it's just unfathomable, dude.
Yeah, man, that's why like you got to get a sponsorship, dude. Like to me, because after we put out Abandonment, I think I got a sponsorship by SJC and Soul Tone. Back in those days, man, it was like a lifesaver, man, because when we play on many shows, you're gonna like crack cymbals. So every time we were out in California, I'd swing through. Do you know the brand? Soul Tone brand, right?
Dude, yeah, they actually get made at the same plant as Heartbeat, who I'm with. So
cool.
Yeah, very cool cymbals, man. I was talking with a couple of the dudes over at Soul Tone.
Back in the day, man, my rep was the guy that played drums for that song for Tracy Chapman.
Oh, no way.
He played. I think he was the session drummer for her Give Me One Reason. But yeah, he was always there at the store, and I'd just walk in and get whatever I needed, and it was pretty cool, man.
Dude, such a cool experience, man. I remember, so when I had Alchemy Istanbul, it was also through Heartbeat, but they used to be just a distributor back then. And they were out west in Canada, in Surrey, BC. But you'd go there, and they'd sit you down behind a kit, and just like while you're playing, they would pop another crash cymbal on. You'd try that, and you'd give them the yes or the no, and if it was no, you'd keep playing your beat, they'd take that one off, put another one on, and like, it was so cool, man.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man, those Soul Tones sound so good too. And them and Zildjian have always been my two favorite cymbals.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's I will say I haven't tried Soul Tones, but you would have had Soul Tones when we did that August Burns Red tour, yeah?
Yeah, I did. I was playing them then.
Cool, man. So I didn't even know they were around for that long, man. You've been with them for forever.
Well, no, I mean, I'm still on the website, I think, but there's like hundreds of people. I mean, they have hundreds of drummers now, but they're what was I going to say? Yeah, I actually reached out to them like a couple of years ago. I was like, hey, I just need some new cymbals, seeing if you guys are still. I never heard back from them, but like I said, it's been like 16, 17 years before that. I'd not even spoken to anybody, so they're not going to remember me. But you got to try,
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, I mean, after a $600 friggin' ride cymbal, hell yeah, you definitely need to try. But you got to wonder if like anybody's still there that you would have dealt with, because I find a lot of these companies, it's like dudes kind of move on and new people come in more frequently than some industries, you know?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Music, especially. Imagine you can be relevant one day and go on the next, or vice versa. Turnover
and same with like label reps and stuff. Not that labels are even like the thing they were when we were coming up, but I mean, I feel like a lot of those dudes kind of go from like label to label, just making lateral moves or moving up the ladder.
Yeah, we didn't really we had our label, but outside of that, man, we didn't really know too many industry folks. It was like we were kind of we were there and then gone. We kind of just vanished before we started to really network into any sort of in the music industry. And maybe we dodged some bullets, I think, but yeah, I know that I know that the music industry I've heard can be rather toxic.
Yeah, I don't know. We got pretty lucky too, man. And I know, like, I heard a lot of Victory Records horror stories, but like, they were always really good to us, man. And like, honestly, we didn't really fight for too much in terms of like tour support or anything, and so we didn't really get much. But that was just kind of on us, I always felt. Whereas some bands would just fight tooth and nail for anything they could possibly get. We were just happy to be out of Canada, like actually touring through the States and touring with like bands we looked up to, like you guys, you know?
Yeah, man. Gosh, I really truly do look back on those days very fondly. And yeah, we were very fortunate also to be able to tour with people that we looked up to, that some of them are still making music today. And it's just a great thing to see, you know, that energy still alive.
Yeah, touring back in the day was super awesome. I don't know that I would want to do it to the same extent that I used to. Or certainly I would need like, beds rather than van benches and stuff like that. But we definitely toured part of Canada together, and you've obviously toured the States. Did you ever make it across the pond?
Never made it over there, man. Would love to still do it. I have a dream of, whenever we start playing shows again, like maybe doing a run of 4 or 5 shows in a row with our families somehow. So like, we get together, ever so often. We were doing it, once a year. And we plan on maybe getting together this summer. So hopefully in the future we can plan like a joint vacation with our families and do some, shows and, in a row. That's kind of like been talked about, but it would be neat to one day do like something in Europe like that, bring our families and just do 5 or 6 shows, and just hopefully the whole thing pays for itself. But, other than short, 2 or 3, maybe 5 shows in a row. I mean, I don't know if we see anything beyond that necessarily, but I and, my brother and a few, maybe, I'm not sure where everybody's heads are at right now, but I know that I would probably, if I could figure out how to block my career around it, I guess I would tour for a whole month if I had the opportunity, man. I just we had so much fun, and I feel like that'd be a really cool place to raise a family down the road like that. But I'm a little different, but I'd make it work if it came down to it, man, because it's like, you only live once, so you might as well do what you're passionate about as much as you can.
Dude, it's so cool, because obviously, like, the fan base, that's kind of all they need to hear. They need to know. It's kind of like that scene in Dumb and Dumber when he goes, "So you're telling me there's a chance," right? Like, you guys are willing to even talk about new music and potentially a new tour or at least new dates. So, I mean, that's exciting, dude.
Man, I mean, I think we don't really, we get a little nervous that it's either going to be a hit or miss, like we're going to put a lot of time and energy into something, and then it'll be, not as, I think we get a little scared that we're old men now, nobody's going to come to our show because nobody knows, remembers who we are, because such a long time ago and all that stuff. But I think when it comes down to just doing it for fun and just kind of seeing where it goes, that's where we're at. So right now we're just really enjoying reconnecting on a musical basis at all. So just writing songs together, self-producing them. We've talked to we've rekindled some relationships with some people that are doing it these days on in the rock music world that have talked about doing some features with us. So we're just sort of dipping our toe in the water and just trying to make the music as good as it can be, and then maybe shift our focus to making our live show as special as it possibly can be. And then maybe that can turn into playing a couple times a year. And then, it's just, once you hit 40, I guess you realize it's like, well, kind of do still have a lot of life ahead of you. It's not all over with, they're that old. I mean, Emery's doing it. They're like, they're old, and not mean to call out Emery like just like that, but I think I just saw like a reel recently where they were like talked about somebody called him like the grandpas of emo or something like that. I thought that was pretty funny, but I don't know, man. I think that we get in our own way. Most, like we fear we're going to be perceived a certain way, but I think the whole idea in this life, man, is to get over that and become authentic. And so I know that's a lot, but that's, there's 17, 18 years of context and the wisdom that you and I have when it comes to having lived life in the music world and outside of it. So it's interesting because that's, when it comes to songwriting, there's a lot of stories to tell. So I don't know. I feel like we do have a lot of pent up stories and creative energy coming to the surface, and looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Dude, I mean, you and I must be on the same wavelength, because you're literally taking thoughts out of my head that I was about to bring up, dude. Because like, you're absolutely right with the age thing. Like, we do get in our own way. Certainly, like, I mean, I go out there and play for people like more than half my age, and it's, or less than half my age, however that works. But I was deathly afraid of just being the old guy. And I remember when I was younger being like kind of not judgmental, but just like cognizant of the fact that I'm going to get old one day and I'll be that kind of old guy at the bar. But it's not like that at all. Like, it's, you get out there and do it, and it's, people are cool, man. If music's good, then music's good.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. I feel you, man. I always had, just like, you're talking about being the old guy at the bar, telling stories about how you opened up for somebody one time, that's, I never wanted to be, I don't like talking about my past of music, when it, just to anybody I meet, because it's like kind of, it's weird. I mean, me and the guys, we just now kind of started to even talk. It's funny, dude. We have a 15-year group chat, and I don't think we've ever had an actual serious conversation about, okay, guys, what do y'all want to do with this music thing? Like, dead serious. Like, it's a weird subject to us, and it's kind of like, but my fear was always being that guy, being perceived as that guy at, I archetyped him as the flame shirt guy at Guitar Center that, everybody about the one, about the time that he, that's just, but screw that. Just be a musician, or to whatever capacity you want to be, and just own it.
100%, dude. Like, I don't know. I figure, and I know what you mean about the flame shirt, dude. Like, I don't know. I'm in a what is it? Fucking not Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead graphic t-shirt right now, and I'm like in my 40s. But I figure you just kind of dress the way you dressed when you were
I'm
like
so glad you
early
were wearing
20s.
a flame shirt, man.
Yeah, dude. Can you imagine? That'd be awesome. Just like my Guy Fieri get up. But
yep, that's the guy.
I just feel like a lot of dudes kind of just dress the way they dressed in their 20s in perpetuity, man. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like a bit of a dink wearing a giant graphic tee, but at the same time, it's like, this is what I would wear if I wasn't thinking about it. So it's like, if you think too much about it, then you kind of become that guy anyway, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that guy usually don't know he's that guy, and he's okay. So, but no, dude, like I love it when people are, passionate about something, and their whole like presence represents that. So your Night of the Living Dead shirt would indicate you're a fan of horror movies. So you seem like you would be a fun person to have a conversation with, because you are just unabashedly being yourself. So that's, at this point in life, man, that's, only kind of person I'm even interested in spending my time with.
Dude,
you know?
I hear that, man. There was something about like, and maybe it's a baby boomer thing, and I'm the last guy to kind of dunk on baby boomers because every generation has their pros and cons, but there was something about like my parents' generation where it was like, okay, we're 30 now, we got to tuck in our shirt and, you know, pull up the slacks. And I don't know. I mean, there's something respectable about that, but it's just not me, dude.
You know, it's all a balance. I think our parents' generation, the ones that I feel like place more emphasis on being accepted by the whole, you know, rather than being more celebratory of individual differences. I feel like that was necessary to form a generation that goes to seek their own individuality. They had to understand and see a contrast in order to realize what was missing in their own, you know, awareness. So, but at the same time, there's a lot of good that comes from that generation of, you know, I mean, whether it be discipline or, you know, personal responsibility, you know, but, you know, it all depends on, I guess, your own willingness to seek out the good versus bad. But anyways, I can get all philosophical about that, but that's another day.
Dude, well, we should definitely have you on again because we are kind of getting to wrap up time. But I mean, I could do this all day, dude. I want to ask you a little bit about gear because you mentioned before I think it was Furnace Fest. You were saying that like your sampler wasn't patched properly, and you managed to get a click track out of it, which leads me to believe that you use in-ears live. Is that true?
Actually, that tour we did with you guys was the first tour I started using in-ears, man. And I said I'll never go back. Yes. So I used West Tones. I just remember it was their equivalent to the Shure E5s, I think, or EQ5. I can't remember. That's what I used back in the day. But I can't remember the model of the West Tone I used at Furnace Fest, but it did a great job. I didn't hear anything but the click track, and I heard the samples in my own ears, but it was kind of but it didn't come through front of house. But I'll figure that out next time.
Well, I mean, the click keeps you tight, man. I mean, I don't know. It seems like the new, you know, drum argument online. I mean, it was triggers for a while, and then people kind of got over that, and now it seems to be like tracks and click. But I mean, my whole thing is like, I'm not afraid of a click, and I can play without one, but I like having one too, because sometimes live, I tend to play really, really fast because the adrenaline's pumping. And when you play stuff like Arise used to play, there was a hell of a lot of down picking for the guitar players. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, in retrospect, I feel terrible for those guys because I was probably just killing their wrists playing things like way too fast. But I mean, it's handy to have a click, you know? And I think if you want to be a drummer in this day and age, you got to be comfy with one or you're not going to get the gig. Just wondering where you lie on that argument.
Well, man, like, I think there is something just to the everybody, you know, 1, 2, 3, go, 1, 2, 3, 4, go, you know, and like just playing just without, you know, depends on the kind of music, but depending, you know, if it really, I mean, if you're a punk band in a small venue, dude, like I would be probably laughing if you were playing to a click, but not laughing, but I'd just be like, why, man? You know, just rip. But I guess it's to each their own. It depends on the application. But I'd say if you're trying to be a serious drummer, yeah, you definitely you got to be able to be comfortable with the click track. I learned that, man, and I was kind of stubborn about it at first, just because it just feels like a lot of responsibility, and you know, and if something goes wrong, but you know, you just have to do that, and you get used to it, and you end up. I mean, it makes everybody sound so much better.
I think that's what it comes down to, man. Is just like, how is it going to sound for the audience that, you know, took the time and paid the money to be there? You know, many of them probably have to get sitters and all that stuff, right? So it's like, how can we create the best experience for those people? And I think, you know, I'm pro track and I'm pro click. I play in a couple of bands that have tracks and click and all that stuff live. And, you know, my argument there has always just kind of been like, okay, if you want to pay me enough to hire a horn section, then I won't use tracks. But until then...
Dude, I need your advice, man. I got a Roland SPD SX and a couple triggers. And, you know, I used GarageBand to build the backing tracks and stuff in the past. And, you know, I could definitely, if you're a gearhead in that regard, I'd love to pick your brain about some things sometime.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm definitely a gearhead. I'm not as knowledgeable as I want to be, but you know, I feel like nobody ever is, right? Because the more knowledgeable you become, the more you realize it's like what you don't know, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of rabbit holes to go down, but there's a lot of great you know, teachers on YouTube that help with extremely, you know, the minutia of getting, you know, your backing tracks from where they are to where they need to be and how they, you know, move and modify pads and stuff. It's just, there's so many things to master, which is cool. So, but yeah, I currently I've built a 28-inch kick out of a marching band bass drum recently.
Nice.
And I still have my 14-inch snare from SJC that I'm going to use. I'm just going to make like a little 2-piece with that Roland sampler, and just to be able to play like smaller, you know, venues around here, and kind of on a hybrid, small, tiny club kit. That, I don't know. That's sort of the next route I want to go down with my drums. But yeah. What about you? What are you playing these days? I mean, you.
I mean,
kind of.
I scaled it down to like a 4-piece. I was playing a 6-piece with like 3 toms up top and then a floor tom. But when I started doing like fly-in gigs and, you know, stuff like that, you're almost always getting the house kit that's 1 tom up top and then 1 floor tom. So I was having to transpose all of my stuff on the fly, and it was tripping me up. So I just thought,
oh man,
I love big kits, dude, but I'll scale it down for the greater good, I guess.
Yeah, with your kind of music that's so intricate, I imagine it's got to be challenging to transpose it onto a kit with two less drums.
Yeah, well, even just the cover stuff, I liked having the bigger kit because it was just a lot of different sounds. So if you're going to sit down for 3 hours and play, you know, 4 different sets of anything from like, you know, Bob Marley to, you know, Zeppelin to the Beatles, like you kind of want a bunch of different sounds at your disposal. But the problem is a lot of the venues that hire you, you know, you might be stuck in the corner at like, you know, a little Irish pub or something. So the kit that you're talking about would be perfect, like a 2-piece with like some pads.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it out, man. Still don't really have I've just barely kind of put feelers out around locally in St. Augustine to find some sort of like outfit to play with. I don't even know what kind of music I would do. I just sort of seeing where, you know, what finds me, I guess. But maybe one of these days, there's a really cool cigar bar downtown called Stogie's, where I've seen a few like local musicians that are just really great that I can, you know, meet with and see if there's any cool vibes there. So I'd love, you know, there's a lot of great places in downtown St. Augustine for musicians. So I'm looking forward to getting out there.
Dude, that rules. So like are there like proper venues, like stuff like you guys would have played back in the day, or is it just kind of smaller pubs? Like,
my dream is for if the guys come out to St. Augustine this summer is to play a pop-up show here, play in a venue off of Anastasia Island called Sarbez. As far as punk venues go or rock venues go that nearby, I'm not sure of anything that actually, you know, has a recurring regional acts other than the amphitheater. However, I do believe there's a venue opening up right around the corner from where I'm currently living, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that is, because it looks like it's just that perfect size, venue. Not too big, not too small, but see where it goes. But yeah, man, I feel like just music in general is sort of showing up everywhere for musicians of our age and younger, man. I'm glad that it's still accessible. So it looks like it's healthy, at least. It's
hell yeah,
around
dude.
here.
Well, and it's funny because I think, like, without getting into the pandemic, I would just say, like, post-pandemic, it seemed like there was an appetite again for live music. Whereas, at least up here in Canada, it felt like for a few years before that, maybe it was a little taken for granted,
Yeah, so I have a whole thought process on that with the pandemic and technology. I feel like it's all of it is showing it, as a whole. I believe as a collective, we are realizing our desire for experiences. I mean, I know that sounds like duh, but like, actually like immersive experiences such as concerts, or I feel like there's tremendous amount of innovation that's about to take place that enhances humanity's interaction with life and them and itself. So with music always evolving, I feel like that's going to lead the way for our consciousness.
Well, I mean, so. I don't know, at the expense of sounding like a cornball, like, the one thing that technology can never really give or take away from us is the ability to make new memories. You know what I mean? Like, so as far as the experiences go, I think that's where it's at, man. People are hungry to go out and make new memories.
I love that. That's a good outlook. And I feel like entrepreneurs, when they're trying to figure out what it is they want to invest their energy into, or their funds into, I feel like thinking from that mindset, like of people wanting to have, create new memories or discover themselves, or I feel like there's a lot of these more needs higher up the Maslow hierarchy that are going to be emphasized and addressed going forward. I mean, that's I'm just a glass half full guy on that, but you have to be, I reckon. But I'm excited to see where everything's headed. I know it looks crazy, but I feel like a lot of people are just holding the tension of opposites until the third wave arrives, where everybody just beginning to sort of accept one another. And maybe I'm just a hippie these days. But,
I don't think so, dude. Because I know, like, when I'm online, everything looks, like the sky is falling. But thankfully, just being a musician that travels and hosting a podcast, is I talk to so many people, and in real life, people are hopeful and they are kind and they are, they don't care about differences, right? Like, that seems like just some surface level online bullshit, if I can be blunt about it.
Yeah, I hope so. Like, I feel like it's also, the world is a mirror, man. So if you feel like, if you yourself is a genuine, heart, and I feel like as you just meander about, I feel like you're gonna see that version of others in them, and you're gonna attract that same kind of personality around you. And when you run into others that don't align, you'll recognize that, and you can respond to it rather than getting sucked into negativity. So yeah, dude, I'm glad that you're spreading your message of just your positivity, and on your show. I think there's a lot of people doing that. There's a lot of people beginning to take the world's evolution into their own hands by taking responsibility for who they are. So yeah, they say life begins at 40. I've heard that recently. I guess that could also just be a catchphrase that happens to show up in, my algorithm, at the time being. But I'm starting to believe it, man. Like, I believe that there's a whole beautiful future ahead of us.
Dude, yeah. Still lots of time ahead, my friend. Yeah, it's 40. I don't know. It's just like 30 was, where I thought, I was over the hill, and it ended up being the best decade of my life. And I can only assume that 40 is going to be even more so. Although sometimes you get a few aches and pains here and there that you never used to.
Yeah, it's been, I've arrived at a really peaceful place personally. I feel like, because of several years of just things being rocky, and but I feel like to find alignment, sometimes it takes a lot of painful lessons. So that's okay, and here we are. So do the best you can. Start where you are, do the best you can, and use what you got.
Well, yeah, that, us in our 40s, plus like all the mileage. I mean, if the saying, it's not age, it's mileage is true, then we're probably more like, 200 years old. So maybe we can help some people with some wisdom of just having been around the block a hell of a lot, dude. Definitely around the block of a lot of Walmart parking lots in North America, that's for sure.
And we definitely have some stories, man. That's a whole nother. That's a podcast series.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Yeah. Again, I could do this all day, but I probably should wrap it up. Is there anyone at this point you want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to?
Yeah, man. All my brothers in Chasing Victory: Jason, Mike, Chris, Adam, Clutch, and Eric. Brad Moist over there at Monoverse Stereo and Goatee for believing in us and pretty much making everything possible. My 16-year-old daughter Melody, she's my greatest inspiration, man. My girlfriend Amanda and our 10-month-old, they just brought so much love into my life, and and a whole new energy, and there's just so many people. I'm just grateful. I'm a grateful fella, man. So that's me. That's my people.
Hell yeah, man. How can people check out what you're doing online?
Well, my business, my garden design business, you can see at moonfloweroutdoor.com, or you can find that on Instagram or Facebook, Moonflower Outdoor Design. And my band Chasing Victory, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and we may have a website and merch store coming soon. So go like us on social media and be checking out that for future merch and music.
That's so awesome, man. It's great that you dropped the band and the business, because it would be very cool if listeners could check out both and support both. So if you're out there in listener land and you like great music, or you like landscaping, or gardening, or shaping gardens, or outdoor design, or any of that good stuff, definitely hit Jeremy up, dude. The last thing I do is spin two tunes. First up is Chasing Victory with Leech, followed by today's double feature, Preacher Artist Killing Flaw with I Am. Dude, thanks so much for your time, man. It's been so much fun.
Gosh, man, it's so great to catch up with you. I hope we keep in touch.
100%, dude. To the listeners, thank you so much for your time. Catch you next time.